So in this video, we're going to go over a couple things regarding selling clothes. This is going to be important because it really depends on your situation. What I mean by that is when you're buying storage units, you have very limited time. Time is very important with storage units because it does take a lot of time to buy the storage unit, go through it, clean it, prep it, sell the items. You know, the whole process it's a very long process. And so sometimes clothing, although it has some value, gets put on the back burner just because you just simply don't have enough time. So this varies from person to person based on if you've got help to help you do these storage units, if you're wanting to sell clothes online, or if you prefer selling hard goods, meaning stuff that's big and physical, not clothing. So it really depends on your situation, and we're going to kind of go over in this video what makes sense for you. So when I first started buying storage units, I didn't have time to sell clothes. So what happens when you don't have time to do something, typically it gets put on the back burner. You'll end up donating the clothes and kind of, doing away in regards to you don't really care about the clothing, so you'll donate it, you'll give it to friends, you'll trash it, you'll throw it in the dump. A lot of new storage unit buyers will do all those things because they don't have time to process clothing, clean it, to make sure there's no issues with it, and then they don't know where to sell it. So one option that you have that I think that if you're not wanting to sell clothes but you still want to make money, and that's the purpose of this video, is to, there's a few places that you can sell clothing, right? And remember, it's very important that you do not throw away or donate clothing because a lot of it is worth really good money. You would be shocked how much vintage clothing, concert t-shirts, vintage Nike, really cool 80s and 90s stuff that you find that's worth $50, $100, sometimes $200, some in the $30 range. But remember, if you buy a $400 storage unit and you have a few of those pieces, that can pay for half of your storage unit. But remember, some people don't have the time to process it, so you've got to understand. And once you start buying more storage units, you'll kind of realize how much time you have to process clothing and shoes and fashion. But if you don't have time, one of the ways that you can go is you can go Buffalo Exchange. That a lot of times, and they do it online or in person. A lot of places have Buffalo Exchange, and what that is it's a brick and mortar thrift store. And you can go in there with your clothing that you find in the storage units, and they'll give you cold hard cash for your clothing. So that's an option. Another one that I have in my area, and this may vary based on where you're located, is Plato's Closet, guys. Plato's Closet is the same thing. It's a thrift store, discounted thrift store. And basically, you can bring in your clothes, they'll look it over, and then they'll give you cold hard cash, or they will give you in-store credit if you would like that or prefer that. So those are two ways that you can go. There may actually be more places. You're gonna have to do a Google search and type in, consignment or thrift stores in your area, and then give them a call and ask them, hey, I'm a storage unit buyer. I get a lot of clothing. Would you guys be interested in buying my clothing? And there may be thrift stores in your area that you can sell clothing. Remember, it's all about creating a network when you're buying storage units. Eventually, you'll have a network of people that when you get certain items, you can bring to them and sell to them and get the cash quickly. That way you can recoup your cash that you paid for the storage unit, okay? Now there is some online places that you can sell to. We're not gonna go over the obvious because this is a video based on, you don't wanna list it and sell it on eBay or Poshmark. You just wanna like wholesale it basically. Grab a bunch of the clothing and sell it in one big lot to somebody. ThreadUp is another website that you can use. It's not a brick and mortar, it's a website. They take a lot of the most current fashion and then they'll cut you a check. So you can go to ThreadUp, type in whatever clothing articles you have, they'll tell you what they'll pay, and then they'll send you a prepaid label. You put all the clothing in the box, slap the label, and ship the clothing to them, and then they'll go ahead and pay you and cut you a check when it sells. So that's another option. So there's three really good options to kind of get rid of clothing if you're not wanting to sell it yourself. I'll tell you the best option right now, okay? So the best option that I wish somebody would have told me when I first started storage units is finding a reseller like me. What is a reseller? Somebody that takes something like this pin here, if it was worth any money, they buy it for $1 and they sell it for $5. That's what a reseller is. That's basically what you are. You're buying these storage units, you need to resell the contents, or you're not going to be able to continue to buy storage units unless you're a millionaire or something, and you're doing this for a hobby, right? Which I don't assume you are, because you bought this course, you want to learn about it. So one of the biggest tips I can give you when you first start buying storage units is you need to get on 2 places. You need to get on Instagram and you need to get on Facebook. Those are the 2 places you need to get on to sell, because what happens is when you get on those 2, Facebook and Instagram, you can network with other resellers in your local area. So I'm in Oregon and I'm a storage unit buyer. If I buy 5 or 6 storage units and it has a lot of clothes, I will message one of those resellers and be like, hey, I have a lot of clothes here. I'll sell it to you $1.50 per item. If you get 40 clothing items, that's $40 quick that you made. And a lot of times they'll come to you. So if you've got 200 or 300 items, let's say you bought a few storage units and you've accumulated a bunch of clothes, you call them up, they'll give you $200 or $300, because typical price would be right around 50 cents to $1 per item, right? For most items. So those are some ideas. Okay, this video is all about if you have a lot of clothes that you get from storage units and you don't want to sell them yourself and you don't want to go through this whole process that I'm going to show you in later videos, this is a few ways that you can still make money on these items without donating them or trashing them in a dump, right? Because you get a lot of clothing, a lot of shoes, and you can make a ton of money. And even shoes, you can probably ask for more money than $1 per item for shoes. You know, maybe $3 or $4 per shoe, right? You'd be shocked how many shoes that you get and how much money they can bring if you don't want to sell them yourself. Make cash. Get good at selling the small stuff, not just the big expensive stuff, because the big expensive stuff is the home run stuff. You want to kind of sit on that and get a good asking price for that. So get good at selling the small stuff to recoup your cash, okay? And this is one of the ways you can do that, because you're going to get a lot of clothing, guaranteed, 100%, a lot of clothing. So, all right, so Buffalo Exchange, Plato's Closet, and there may be some others. Google in your area, thrift stores, give them a call, be like, hey, I'm a storage unit buyer. I get a lot of clothing. Would you guys be willing to buy some of this clothing? Create those contacts, okay? Online, ThreadUp. That's the one you want to use for online. There's a few others. Just Google search. Remember, this will just take time. And then the most important one that I love is getting to know people on Instagram and Facebook that are in your area and being like, hey, I'm a storage unit buyer. I know you don't buy storage units, but I get a lot of clothing and you sell clothing. So when I get clothing, I can text you and you can come over and pick it up for $1 per item or whatever price you set. That way you can get quick cash. And you'll start doing this for a bunch of different items. Clothing would be one of them. Maybe some hard goods. There's different things that you'll find in storage units pretty frequently that you'll build up contacts and business cards, and then when you get that stuff, you can call them and get paid quickly. All right, guys, those are some items. Those are some ways you can get rid of clothing without selling them yourself and still make money.